Today's video is going to be knapping some clear glass. Now this was made by a friend of mine, Charles, and he asked me to knap it to see how it behaves. Charles Perriott. Okay, he says, "Hello Patrick, please let me know how these behave. Kind regards, Charlie." Okay, so I'm going to be knapping this. I normally don't knap clear glass because I consider it to be hazardous. It's like any other glass except I can't see the shards very well, so when they get all over the shop, it's difficult to clean up. But if this works out, you can make blades and arrowheads out of it, right? And he sent me a bunch of these. Let me see. See, he made these himself, right? He melted down some clear glass and then cast some ingots. So what I'm going to do is I'll knap the ingot down to a biface to see how it behaves and how easy it is. And I helped him with the dimensions of these. Okay, so this one has a little crack in it, so it's going to be the most challenging. So I'm going to knap this first. I'll probably lose some length on it. 6 inches, yeah. So it is a rock challenge. Okay, but it's not the typical one. Like I said, I hardly ever knap clear glass. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Let me try to get a photo first. All right. And getting into it is the hard part in the beginning. And basically I'm just going to zigzag it after I try to remove that crack. See, there it is. Is that it? No, still a little bit left. This snaps really easily. It naps really easily so far. Okay. It's thick enough in the middle. I don't have to worry about the snap and half-ish aspect yet. So everything was just done to try to get that crack out of there. I think it's gone, so now I can just get to the regular knapping. All right. And I'm putting my finger over here because it's a little bit more accurate and I don't have to swing it to remove flakes. I feel like it's a little more accurate when I put my finger on it. But if I want to hit hard, I usually just swing these. I can also swing fast like this, but it doesn't seem as fast. And it is important for me to swing fast so I don't shock the piece too much. If I swing too slow, it pulls the whole piece a little bit too much. If it's snappy, it removes the flake before it knows what's happening, and it doesn't pull on it. So it's been a long time since I've had these ingots. So I apologize, Charles, for not doing this right away. I just didn't want to have a bunch of stuff in my shop and then have this clear glass everywhere. So I've cleaned out the shop quite a bit. So now if I want to vacuum this up, it's not as difficult. And I don't have a bunch of stuff exposed that could capture a bunch of these little flakes. You know, if I have a bunch of boxes exposed without lids, these flakes get in those boxes, and then when I'm fishing around in the boxes, they'll get me because they're hard to see. Anyways. So with the billet or the bopper, doing this zigzagging requires a little bit of practice, which means a lot of practice. I'm probably going to switch to indirect percussion here very fast. I've already got a penetration of the glove here. Yeah, these are not as good as the other gloves, but there's little tiny shards can get, you know, the long, thin, tiny shards can get through there. I got to be careful with that because I can't see them. Once they get in there, if they're in my skin, I can't see them. I got to dig around and try to get them out. Okay, so how about abrading? Let's see. I could try to abrade this and knock off something from the tip here, but this is too rounded, I think. Yeah. Even if I abrade it to roughen up the surface, I don't know if I can get a flake to come off. It's a little bit too rounded. Yeah. So I'm just going to zigzag the whole thing. You know, starting from here and zigzag around. But I'm going to use indirect percussion. It's a little more accurate and it helps to prevent mistakes. Mistakes like snapping the whole thing in half. Yeah, and I don't need to abrade, so this goes pretty fast. And then after I zigzag it, that's when I abrade. Let me put both gloves on. I'm getting flakes already in between my hand and the billet, I mean the mallet. I can tell when I start getting itchy, that means I'm getting flakes between the tool and my hand. Okay. Alright, where was that? So when you zigzag, I just need to hit the previous flake scar. I don't need to abrade. So it's pretty much the same thing all the way around. Now the ingots might be able to be made with this kind of a sharp edge, which might be useful. It'll save time. But I think the ingots are more easily made with a rounded edge. I'm not sure. I'm not a glass worker other than knapping it. I don't know anything about working with glass. I don't know how difficult it is to try and cast these ingots with sharp edges, or relatively sharp. You know, not cutting sharp, but just sharper might be better. So we don't have to zigzag the whole thing first. Save some time if it's already sharp. But anyway, this glass is working pretty good. Yeah. It's a little shattery, which means it's kind of brittle. It will snap in half, I can tell already. A lot of these flakes are not holding together. So I have to make sure I don't go too thin with it. And as I get better at working the glass of this type, yeah, you can go thinner and thinner the more experience you have. So the general rule is keep it thick until you've got lots of experience, and just build your way into going thinner. Take your time, don't rush it, or you'll have a lot of disappointments, especially if you're working with material that you bought. You don't want to be breaking it. Might as well make thick points than no points at all. It's slightly curved a little. It is slightly curved, the ingot, but that's okay. So I'm losing about 1/4 inch, 1/8 to 1/4 inch doing the zigzag on each side. You know, on the width, I am losing some width doing the zigzagging. It's not too bad though. And I did recommend some sizes for this type of thing. I like having a lot of mass to work with. It helps with the percussion, especially the way I do it when I use the mass of the piece against itself. Okay, so it's zigzagged all the way around. Now it's time to do some thinning. So I consider that a biface. The ends are not thinned down, so that's the first thing. There's no inconsistencies or cracks in it, so that's not a worry. There's no turtlebacks, so that's not a worry. Right now the worry is the ends are too thick. It's because it's kind of like a slab. It started out kind of like a slab or a big flat spall. So the ends always need to be thinned down first. And I am grinding everything. I am abrading everything, but that's just out of habit. It saves time. Okay. It's a time-saving habit for me, the way I nap, to do all the abrading as much as possible all at once. That way I can focus on the flake removals without being interrupted too much by the necessity of abrading every few seconds or whatever. So the tip is getting thinned down. I think you can see what I'm doing. These flakes travel nicely. There's no obstacles in the material. That's always nice. Natural materials usually have some sort of obstacle going on or inconsistency. It doesn't actually have to have an inclusion in the natural material. Sometimes it can have an inconsistency, like a hard spot or a soft spot, but it doesn't look any different from the rest of it. It'll mess up your flaking if there's inconsistencies. Yeah. So how thin do I get the tip? As thin as I think I can get it without it breaking. And that only comes with experience. And sometimes I don't get it right. But I'm trying to go past halfway any of the thinning requires you to go past halfway. Usually you can go to exactly halfway and still thin it down. It just doesn't thin it down as fast as driving the flakes past halfway. So when I say I'm in the thinning stage, I'm driving these flakes past halfway as a general rule. Not all the flakes that I'm taking off will go past halfway, because some of them are just to remove thick spots near the edge, and not necessarily a thick spot in the middle. Sometimes there's a thick spot near the edge, like here. It's not in the middle, it's the thick spots right here. So I don't need a big long flake. No, I don't need a series of long flakes, just short ones. And it does thin it down. So there it is. That's as far as I want to go on the tip for now. Yes, maybe a little bit more. Let me see. On clear glass, it is hard to see the edge and to see the surface. For me, anyway. I gotta watch out for these. See that little thin? I gotta watch out for those, because if I don't, I'll get a bunch of those in my fingers. So whenever I detect one of those, I've got to make sure I deal with it right away. Whereas with other stone or other obsidian that's darker, I can see those little shards, and I can dig them out easier. Don't have to be as worried about those. Although I try to get into the habit of making sure I don't leave them stuck in there too long. Okay, so that tip is thinned down. Now I got to thin down the base. Yeah, glass is nice as far as consistency goes. Yeah, I can more accurately predict these flakes. And this glass is kind of shattery, but it's not too bad. I gotta make sure. See, I gotta make sure I don't get too many of those stuck in me. I was knapping some obsidian last night, and I had a bunch. I got a little rash because I had a bunch of them stuck in there, but I can dig those out. But these, I can't see them. Anyways, I'll stop talking about that. I talk about that too much. Yeah. Yeah, nice. It almost looks like I'm knapping ice. Have I knapped ice before? I tried it with a billet. It does not knap like rock. Ice is terrible. You can do it. I'd rather sculpt ice into a weapon by melting it a little bit. Or shaving it down with some tool, not chipping it. Alright, so let's see. I'm just going to do a biface because I don't want this to run over too long, past 30 minutes. I'll just run it for as long as it takes to make a biface of a thickness that I'm pretty sure will work. Okay, so the ends are thinned down pretty well. I'm going to thin everything else. And I'll do it in proportion. As the middle gets thinner, I'll go back and thin the ends a little bit more. Let's see. Nice. Okay, so I'll just kind of describe what I'm doing. I'm doing little flakes to prepare for big flakes. I'll look for lumps. This is not like a slab, which makes it a little bit easier to knap. Because it's easier to have convexity with something like this than with a slab. I can make it convex because there's plenty of thickness in the middle. Convexity is nice because it helps to avoid step fractures. Yeah, can't always avoid them though.